Es que sabe cuál fue la vaina. Las colotas que miró. No la había visto. Eso ya es toda la puerta de...
Sí, la puerta del internet de la
llamaron allá y nos llamaron allá a la oficina. Un día me llamaron.
La porquería no voy a hacer, no sabe hacer ni siquiera la escuela. Como se enseña a conseguir material, no, pero como le va a pegar la tía. No, no. Sí, pero tampoco. Vamos, vamos.
También, ¿cómo les fue? eso, si ustedes les cuento.
misteriosa.
Franklin, prueba. Ya le copio el comunicado.
¿Listo? Ya entrena. Mucho más suena de 50.
¿Y de quién es? Tranquilo, no, ahí quiere hacer algo, pero no oficina en donde...
Cualquier se... Ay, pero no
Gana, se ganó una oportunidad.
Supondría yo que a través del correo electrónico mandarán el mensaje de que mañana se puede reanudar con total normalidad el edificio, ¿sí? Dependiendo de lo que encuentren, si encuentran algo. Entonces, compañeros, nuevamente mil gracias por la diligencia, mil gracias por seguir nuestras indicaciones, gracias a nuestros compañeros brigadistas por estar pendientes de todo el tema. Bueno, que tengan un feliz día.
Me dijo a mí, quiero pensar. Le digo yo, ya se ve a metros, ¿cierto? Porque es la más alta de todos nosotros. Y ella mandó una foto de otro país.
De otra ciudad.
De otro país.
Para mí quedó de Cali.
Y escuché que una señora... No, es que no tengo señal.
¿Ya? A 2 cuadras de la ciudad.
puerta del internet da
Cuando bajé, ya estaban todos uniformados, igual que ahora.
Simplemente nos llamaron allá y nos llamaron allá a la oficina. Un día me llamaron.
Ya todo lo han ahí. Sí o no, que tú eres
La porquería no debe hacer, no sabe hacer, ya no hay nada. Como se enseña a recibir castellano,
no, pero como le va a quedar aquí. No. Pero tampoco. Vamos, vamos.
También, ¿cómo les fue?
Pues acá que terminó también estas Bueno,
Here's what President Trump said.
We have jihadists being elected all over the place. We have this, whether it's communism, jihadism. It's a friend of mine called up. He said, you know, really, you should use the word jihadist because that's what's happening.
So we wanted to play that again because it is notable. You heard my conversation there with Congressman Debbie Dingell, who indicated that she's tired of the hateful rhetoric, that she thinks it is sort of a wink and a nod toward Islamophobia. How do you see it?
I don't know that they're jihadists, Pamela, but I don't think there's any doubt they're Democrat socialists that have been nominated. They're anti-Semites that have been nominated. El Sayed himself has a surrogate who basically said that America deserved 9/11. El Sayed himself has said Israel.
He's disavowed that.
He's had him as a surrogate.
Right, but hold on.
He has said himself, Israel is as evil as Hamas. So we sit here and, you know, you criticize the jihadists, but if you're a voter in Michigan, you should be frightened. There's no doubt that you have an anti-Semite at the top of the ticket.
Well, he has said he wants to protect Jewish people as he would his own children. He's, just to be clear, but I'm asking about what the president just said, that jihadists are being elected all over the country. Who do you think he was talking about there?
I don't know who he's talking about, Pamela, but I don't think there's a question that there's a rise in anti-Semitism inside the Democrat Party.
But why are you trying to pivot to anti-Semitism rather than focus on what the President of the United States just said there about jihadists?
Because I don't know what he's referring to as far as jihadists, as far as candidates,
Sabrina,
but I also think it's wrong to sit here and dismiss any of the criticism, too.
I think it's pretty clear what the president's trying to do, and I think you played a clip of what Hillary Clinton said about the Republican Party is just going to start throwing out these labels: socialism, communism, jihadists. Now, there is a
socialists themselves.
But actually, I'll say it is not a Democratic socialist.
In New York, you have.
And he does. Yeah, but he does have some socialist.
He has some leaning
views.
You have Democrat socialists nominated in New York.
Yeah, but okay. So I didn't say you don't have any. I said you have some. But I think the Republican Party and Donald Trump is trying to throw these words around to scare, to Mark's point, to scare people. And someone like El Sayed, who has a family, has lived in Michigan, is talking to voters, has captivated and motivated people to turn out for him. And I think we have to pay attention to that.
I mean, I think the implication, well, okay. The implication with using the word jihad, like, yes, we can all agree there is a problem of rising anti-Semitism in the United States. I hope everybody agrees with that.
Yes, that is horrible and that is bad. It should always be disavowed.
That does not mean that there are candidates in the United States openly calling for holy war, which is what the term jihad means. The president knows that, and it's whatever. You know, it just, two things can be true, or I guess one can be true and one's not. It is true that there's anti-Semitism in the United States. It's on the rise. It has been allowed to run rampant. There is not a holy war being declared in the United States. That is silly rhetoric from the president.
And I think he's trying to use that term because he knows the implications of what that means on a Muslim candidate as well, and is trying to incite some type of fear in people. But like, I mean, to your question of like, name who he's talking about. I mean, who is he talking about? He's probably talking about just the one person in Michigan, maybe someone else that he feels. I just
you know,
it's a broad brush that he's painting.
Socialism. Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to steer clear of sharing an opinion as a reporter, but I will say, based on the facts, President Trump frequently says Barack Hussein Obama. President Trump is very deliberate in his word choice, and he is also a gifted communicator. He knows how people are going to interpret what he says. He knows that people draw connections, and those are things that go through his mind when he chooses his words.
You brought up socialism. Let's pivot back to that. You have this race in Wisconsin for the governor's primary, and a self-proclaimed socialist candidate, Francesca Hong. She's come under fire for some of her previous statements, from defunding the police to takes on abolishing Thanksgiving and hating Halloween, stances she has since stepped away from. Earlier this week, this is what AOC's former boss had this to say.
My understanding is that that Francesca Hong has made clear her present stances to her electorate.
Yeah, she's moved away from a lot of that.
Right, she's moved away from it. And I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. Okay, that's true.
And I think that what's important is that we have to assess what
was it? I mean, did the movement go too far?
All right, so clearly that was AOC. But what do you make of that explanation, Sabrina? That like woke one was crazy and we should just laugh it off?
Well, there were policies that candidates were talking about, like defund the police, which is crazy. I mean, that is a crazy policy. You need to have law enforcement in your city to protect people. So I think what she's talking about there, and I think some candidates running across the country have backed away from these positions because at the time, maybe it was politically convenient or, sort of on trend, but the reality is that that's not where voters are. Voters are much more in the center when it comes to these issues, and I think, the head of the DSA went on Fox News a few weeks ago and said, like, we should defund the Pentagon and we should not have prisons. I mean, those are crazy positions to have right now. That is not going to happen either.
I would add also, just for contrast, we were talking about the history. The first campaign I covered in this country was in 2008. And John McCain was asked at a campaign event, or rebuked or corrected someone at a campaign event who said Barack Obama is a Muslim. He said, no, sir, he's an American. All of these candidates are Americans. They should be, and no doubt will be, judged on their policies. And there are some of those policies that American voters on both sides are going to question. They have to stand up for the statements that they've made. Many of them on the Democratic side have created vulnerabilities for themselves because of those statements, certainly on the Republican side as well. But it is different in 2026 in terms of what people will allow and what people will accept and what people will correct in terms of some of that political
Well, one
rhetoric.
of the things one candidate is not correcting is the truth about 2020. You have the presumed Republican candidate for governor in Wisconsin, Tom Tiffany. He voted against certifying the Joe Biden's victory in 2020. I mean, is that something that will land with Wisconsin voters, Mark, at this point? I mean, like, why not just say the election was not stolen and let's move on?
I think you know my position on that, Pamela. I lived that day on January 6th. The election was certified rightfully, and Joe Biden was elected President of the United States. Having said that, Tom Tiffany is a great candidate, and he will win in Wisconsin because Fong is so far outside the mainstream. She hasn't just criticized Thanksgiving, she's also criticized July 4th, she's criticized Valentine's Day, she's criticized Christmas Day in her various tweets and posts. She's a crackpot.
Yeah, I mean, well, a few things. I will also join her on the Valentine's Day point. It's a holiday that causes stress.
Listen, I think we can all agree Valentine's Day should just go.
Causes stress for everybody. But I think before you even get to the general, can Democrats even, or her being right for the state, can Democrats even unite in the state in a primary that's actually been quite a mess? You had front runners dropping out. The governor endorsed someone who wasn't even his lieutenant governor. You had a campaign finance issue, all with one of the candidates who ultimately ended up dropping out. It's just a messy primary for the Democratic Party in Wisconsin. So even if she makes it through and somehow manages to win over the hearts and minds of Wisconsin voters, can the party unite and actually fundraise?
Even the far left candidates like Bernie Sanders
can win.
and AOC are not endorsing her. They have endorsed in Michigan. So I think that Tom Tiffany will become the next governor of Wisconsin.
Primary races become the latest episode of Extreme Makeover, Democratic Party Edition. Today is the last day of campaigning before tomorrow's primary days in Wisconsin, Minnesota, South Carolina, Connecticut, Alabama, and Vermont. Democrats are preparing for multiple intra-party showdowns between progressives and establishment Democrats, fresh on the heels of Abdul Sayed's anti-establishment win in Michigan Senate primary 6 days ago. Perhaps the most notable fight tomorrow will take place in battleground Wisconsin, a state that President Trump won in 2024. In the Democratic primary for governor, the clear frontrunner as of now is a Democratic socialist, Francesca Hong. She's a state representative leading a populist campaign tapping into voters' concerns over the high cost of living. But moderate Democrats worry a Democratic socialist with a record of what many see as cringy woke tweets has no good shot at winning November's general election. While the race features several Democrats, there has been a late surge from establishment candidate David Crowley, the Milwaukee County executive. Governor Evers is backing Crowley and using his resources, including his own communication staff, to boost Crowley. CNN's Jeff Zeleny is in Madison, Wisconsin, with a closer look at these campaigns.
When you say somebody's a Democratic socialist, what the hell does that mean?
On the eve of the primary election in a wild Wisconsin governor's race, Democrats are having a contentious debate.
What they're calling socialist policies aren't necessarily socialist. It's working for people.
In our movement, we're
over the direction of their party and more.
I don't think there's anything wrong with being a Democratic socialist, but she's come up so strong that I think she's going to scare people.
A summertime surge for progressives will be tested anew as Francesca Hong, a Democratic Socialist state lawmaker,
I want you to know that I'm going to keep showing up for you. Let's win this.
faces David Crowley, the Milwaukee County executive backed by outgoing Governor Tony Evers.
We need a governor who doesn't just talk about problems. We need someone who's going to solve them. And that's what I've done my entire career.
Hong is working to capitalize on deep voter discontent, calling for a one-year moratorium on data centers,
Taxing the ultra-rich.
and new taxes on some of the wealthiest Wisconsinites. What have you tapped into during this race?
I think it's a frustration and an exhaustion that Wisconsinites feel left behind.
The campaign has divided Wisconsin Democrats, with one chaotic turn after another. 3 candidates dropped out, including Crowley, who later jumped back into the race. Hong emerged as a frontrunner, but along the way walked back her previous views of defunding the police, abolishing the U.S. Senate, and even canceling Thanksgiving.
Had some bad takes and some hot takes on Twitter, but like all everyday Wisconsinites, I had to express my frustrations that the system wasn't working for us.
There are times to be more establishment, but I don't think this is the time.
Tim Eichinger, a lifelong Democrat, has watched the primary play out from his Milwaukee brewery.
Is there an appetite for change here? Is that what's driving some of this as well?
Certainly. And it's not just change overall. It's change with how the Democrats are doing things. The Democrats seem to be soft and aren't willing to fight as much. And I think that's why you're seeing maybe somebody who maybe has some bigger ideas, some bold ideas that might seem a little bit crazy, but it's like, hey, let's give it a shot.
Progressive politics have a long history in Wisconsin, but Evers warned Democrats they could lose the seat in November to Republican Congressman Tom Tiffany.
Wisconsinites, we have worked too damn hard, and we have waited too damn long to have it all squandered now.
Crowley argues that he too represents change.
So you're not the establishment, in your view?
I may be established, but I'm not the establishment. Just being able to put out different types of rhetoric doesn't mean you're a progressive. What makes you a progressive is actually making progress for those that you represent and looking to represent.
And it's not just progressive Democrats who are cheering on Hong. The Republican Governors Association also has invested about $3.6 million in elevating Francesca Hong's campaign. That is a sign to the governor and many other establishment Democrats here that they believe that she would be easier to beat in the fall campaign. But Jake, there is no doubt Wisconsin is the latest front here in this ongoing battle between the insurgency and the establishment of the party. But many new wrinkles here in Wisconsin as well. This race has been so chaotic. Some of the potentially leading candidates just a few weeks ago dropped out of this race. That means many early ballots that were cast, tens of thousands of them, effectively voted for people who were no longer in the race. That leaves a wild card for tomorrow, but there is no doubt Hong has some strong momentum going into this campaign tomorrow. She'll be here at her headquarters.
In our politics lead, Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel has announced she's going to skip her state's Democratic Party's nominating convention on August 21st. Her reasoning? Well, the rise of anti-Semitism on the political left and the Democratic Party's leadership and its failure to address it. In her announcement, she added she would not feel safe at the event. She cited past instances of harassment that have gone unchecked. And Attorney General Dana Nessel joins me now. Thanks for joining us, General Nessel. So you've criticized party leadership for not responding to your concerns about this in the past. Who specifically would you like to stand up more about this?
Well, first and foremost, the party chair should be demanding that we enforce a code of conduct and we have certain levels of decorum. Party events sometimes have been boisterous, but lately they have turned, frankly, scary and venomous. And, there's a lot of videotape footage from what happened at our last convention, the endorsement convention that took place in April. And unfortunately, there's no consequences for anybody, irrespective of how you behave. And, these should be inclusive events. We're past the primaries now. This should be about bringing everybody in the party together, not driving people away. And, of those who are welcome to this event are 5 Michigan Democratic Party members who have been charged federally with having made threats and having harassed and vandalized the homes of some members of our party, Democratic electeds, and Jewish centers as well. So it's been a little bit scary, and I think we really need to make sure that everybody feels welcome at these events and they're not turned off because they think that people are going to be screaming at them, shouting at them, and chasing after them at the convention hall.
So a few days ago, my colleague Caitlin Collins asked Democratic Senate nominee Abdul Al-Sayed about this issue and the concerns you've raised. Here's what he said.
I happen to remember the nominating convention in 2018 when then Attorney General nominee Dana Nessel asked me to read her nomination officially into the books. So she felt perfectly safe with us there. I think it's important that all of us feel safe, and Jewish safety to me is a priority, just like the safety of my own daughters. But I do think it's important for us to differentiate between safety and between our different political positions about the interests of a foreign government. And I do think that it's unfortunate when people mix those issues. I think there is a challenge when folks try to use the specter of anti-Semitism to extend toward protecting a foreign government against criticism, and I think that's the place that the Attorney General and I might disagree.
What's your response to that?
Well, I think it's unfortunate. I started the first hate crimes and domestic terrorism unit ever at a state AG's office, and we prosecute people who threaten the lives of elected officials. And we don't ask them what their beliefs are or what their political makeup is. Threatening people is wrong. Harassing people is wrong. And terrorizing people is wrong. And when we can, we investigate and we prosecute those cases to say that basically, like, perhaps I, deserve to be threatened simply because of my political beliefs, I think is a real missed opportunity for Abdul to bring the party together. And I hope that's what we're going to be able to do. But a lot of it involves, reaching out to those who supported his opponent, Haley Stevens, in the primary and saying, hey, here's why you ought to support me. And honestly, we have to flip the Senate. There's no question we need a Democratic Senate. Mike Rogers, who's his opponent, first of all, horrifically Islamophobic, this campaign already. So, we should all be fighting back against that for certain. But we know that Mike Rogers is simply going to be a rubber stamp for the most corrupt administration in American history. We know that there are Supreme Court seats that might be up. We know that while Abdul stands for Medicare for all, I don't even know that Mike Rogers supports Medicare for anyone. So, there are really important components that, create an environment that we have to make sure that we have unity in our party. But the way to do that is to make everyone feel safe and everyone feel welcome.
Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel, a Democrat. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. In our politics lead, despite increasing calls from Republicans to step aside, Ohio Republican Congressman Max Miller is not going anywhere. He's going to remain on the ballot after that key deadline passed over the weekend. Miller is facing serious abuse allegations from his wife, and also his wife alleges that he may have emotionally and physically abused her daughter, ex-wife, we should say. The congressman denies all of it. Here's Republican Senator Jim Banks of Indiana yesterday on NBC.
The allegations against him are terrible, and if he's endangering a seat in Congress as we're trying to keep the majority in the House, and he should drop out if he's endangering that seat. He should drop out because of the allegations against him.
Let's jump in with the panel. Ramesh, thanks for joining us. Miller could still withdraw from the race, but Republicans will be left without a nominee now that the deadline to replace him has passed. What do you think he should do?
Well, I think that he should resign, obviously. But, this is somebody who is obviously very used to putting himself before the interests of everybody else. He's already done it with his family. Of course he's going to do it with the Republican Party.
Yeah. Amicia, Miller is set to face Democrat Brian Poindexter in the general election. We should keep in mind this is a generally considered reliable Republican seat, but it's a midterm election and people don't like what's going on with Miller. Here is what Poindexter has to say.
I didn't get into this race because Max Miller's personal life is in shambles. I got into this race because working families' lives are turned upside down by the policies that this administration and Max Miller have supported.
Trump won by 11 points. Does Poindexter actually have a chance here, do you think?
I think he does, at least to be competitive. If these Max Miller allegations had not come out, if there weren't multitudes of women and people who had them over the course of time, we'd be in a different place. And he's been incalcitrant. As somebody who has said, even on your show, he has compared himself and what he feels is a persecution to that of Donald Trump. One of the things that Donald Trump never had was a double-digit drop. What we're seeing here is something entirely different. And I do think that it makes a Democrat who normally probably wouldn't stand a chance in an area like that, someone who is more competitive.
Go ahead.
It adds to the echoes of the 2006 election. You've got an unpopular war, back then Iraq, now Iran. You've got an unpopular president, George W. Bush, now Donald Trump. And you've got an issue environment that's very anti-Republican. Add to the mix all of these stories of corruption and personal scandal involving congressmen. And back then, the House flipped. It's looking like it's going to be that way again.
What was it? Mark Foley was one of them.
That's right.
There was a bunch.
There were.
Amisha, let's turn to some of the big Senate races. The Senate Majority PAC, a Democrat aligned group, is out with this ad attacking Republican Senate nominee in Michigan, Mike Rogers. Take a look.
Introducing Endless War from Mike Rogers.
Boy, it's really hard when you have to justify every minute of the war, I think, for the president.
Side effects may include death, economic hardship, and global instability. Some patients have reported fuel shortages, which may cause inflation. Endless war has not been proven to make Americans any safer.
Ask your doctor if Endless War is right for you.
Kind of a whack at the fact that Mike Rogers is a little older than Abdul Al-Sayed as well. Do you think that's an effective ad?
I think it is. I think it's an effective ad coupled with what we've seen come out from the El Sayed campaign, the campaign with his grandparents, that ad, the ad with, with the ball song in the background. There's a lot of there. That ad in particular points to the very things that his voters, and I would argue voters across the country, are very upset with when it comes to this war and the billions of dollars and multi-billions that they've seen spent on it, still with no real reason for us to be there, and also many people questioning when we're going to get out, in addition to facing a backdrop of, healthcare lapses with the changes that we've seen from the Big Beautiful Bill Act, with housing prices increasing, with not being able to afford food for their kids, housing issues. I think that it can be very effective.
So there's also this big race in Wisconsin for governor, and the likely Democratic nominee, we'll find out tomorrow, seems to be a woman named Francesca Hong. AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a congresswoman from New York, was on ABC and was asked about the fact that Francesca Hong had a number of, shall we say, woke statements on her social media from years past. Here was AOC's response. It was kind of interesting. Take a listen.
My understanding is that that Francesca Hong has made clear her present stances to her electorate.
Yeah, she's moved away from a lot of that.
Right, she's moved away from it. And I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. I'm sure you would agree with that. But what do you make of this kind of acknowledgement by AOC there, a very leading voice of the progressive movement, that some of the stuff that was said in the 2018 to 2024 area was a little out there?
Well, she was pretty woke herself during that period. And that construction that woke was pretty crazy makes it sound like wokeism was just something that sort of washed over us, when there were actually identifiable people, including her, who sort of perpetrated it and inflicted it on institutions and the country. Look, it's fine to change your mind. I do think you owe people an account of why you changed your mind when you change your mind. Hong hasn't done that, and in this clip, neither did AOC.
I don't think that she needed to. The fact of the matter is, when the push for defund the police, that narrative was running, it was also being accepted by a lot of people because they literally just saw a man die on live television at the hands of the police. This was a conversation about George Floyd. This is what kicked it off. This is what kicked off all of the BLM protests. At the time, it made sense to a lot of people, specifically in the activist movement, who were very frustrated at police brutality that they kept seeing over and over and over again, and so many black people becoming hashtags across social media, but no change actually happening. It drove a lot of the license to actually ensure that there were body cams, to ensure that there were policies put in place to avoid some of this or mitigate some of this. With that being said, I do think that over time, people in their movement shift towards what matters today. 2020 was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
At this point, people are crying out about their cost of living. They're crying out about affordability. Police brutality, though it is still important and still happening across multiple areas in the country, that is not the top line item because we're not seeing across our screens every day live footage of a police officer killing a man.
You know, 2020 was 6 years ago. The 2020 election was 6 years ago. President Trump's denial of what happened is still a live issue in our politics and should be. I don't think we should consign this to the ancient past. And I don't think there are any circumstances in which being a prison abolitionist or being a defunder of the police is a good reflection on somebody's judgment.
Midterm elections less than 3 months away. President Trump is testing new attacks on Democrats, now saying, quote, jihadists are being elected. The president seems particularly focused on Abdul El-Sayed in Michigan. The race is crucial to Democrats' hopes of retaking the Senate majority, and the president is attacking his attacks to include El-Sayed's wife, or expanding, I should say, his attacks to include El-Sayed's wife. CNN's Arlette Saenz has more.
Less than a week since Abdul El-Sayed's victory in the Democratic Senate primary in Michigan, the race is getting ugly, with President Donald Trump turning to inflammatory and personal attacks. In a Truth Social post over the weekend, Trump featured this photo of El-Sayed with his wife and the caption, "Two very different Americas." El-Sayed pushed back on CNN's State of the Union.
Yeah, he's right. One in which your overlords are two people who don't like each other but joint in the interest of making billions of dollars off of you, or two people who genuinely love each other, enjoyed some pancakes together, want to come together to build the kind of America where they can raise a family and know that that family is going to have the good things. So yes, you've got two different visions of America. Donald Trump's vision is the one you're living in right now. Can you afford your gas? Can you afford your groceries?
Just today, the president said this in the Oval Office.
One thing is we have jihadists being elected all over the place. We have this, whether it's communism, jihadism, it's a lot of friend of mine called up. He said, you know, really, you should use the word jihadist because that's what's happening.
Though he didn't say El-Sayed by name, the president's comments come as he's railed